I can. So you. Yeah, I have 24 participants. Okay.
I see.
Yeah. Jan. No, he's gone, Jan. I'm just.
No video. Okay.
Okay. Just one question. You're monitoring also the iris stream,
Yes.
if it's duplicated there?
Well, I will try, but I'm searching. But it will happen.
Okay, so Jesper, any news from Hannah? Still.
She's now on a new computer. She has arrived. There she
hello,
is.
Hannah.
Hannah, can we maybe check quickly your audio, Hannah?
Okay, so can you, Fred, are you ready just for another sound check? Okay.
Sure.
So Hannah, if you can just ask your question.
Sorry, ik ben echt nog aan het praten. Hi Chris, what kind of experiments do you do in space, and do they sometimes include animals? Over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you want to see Friday. Hannah, your audio might be just a bit light.
Light.
Try to maybe, can you move a little closer to your microphone, Hannah?
Like this?
Yeah, try again.
Yes.
Just say a few words.
Hi, Chris. What kind of experiments do you do in space, and do they sometimes include animals? Over.
Very good, Hannah. That's perfect. This is AB10C for ID. We're clear.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. So it's 10:08 on my counter. It's set to UTC because everybody understands UTC, else I would have to convert for Fred the time and for Belgium time and whatever. So it's best to talk UTC. So it's now 10:08:45 seconds in UTC. That's just 12:08 in Belgium, but it's something like what time is it at your place, Fred? No, your audio isn't coming through.
Sorry, it's 6:09 a.m. now, local time.
Yeah, so Fred did get up very early just to please us. I don't know if at 6 o'clock you would be awake to ask questions.
My pleasure.
But it's perfect for Iceland. It's UTC time in Iceland.
Okay.
No conversions to be made. That's easy.
No.
Okay, so that's easy. Of course, one reason why they use UTC on board is also because ISS flies all around the globe in 90 minutes, so they would have to change every few seconds their watch. They don't want to do that, so that's why they stick with UTC, and which is actually good for us because when they schedule contacts, it's during their working hours, and their working hours are the same hours as we are awake, while for other continents it's in the evening or in the morning early, and that's more difficult. So, couple of minutes left.
Allemaal eens wuiven. We zijn nu live op YouTube.
Okay, so welcome to the audience on YouTube. And in a few moments, we will start the show. So,
Nog even een reminder aan iedereen. Als we zelfs applaudisseren voor Chris Cassidy, vergeet dan niet te unmuten, want in de voorbije oefensessies was dat al een keer het geval. Dus niet vergeten te unmuten, zelfs bij het applaus. Hè?
okay, so couple of minutes left.
Maybe we can show the audience the current location of the ISS now. Nick, can you make that happen?
Okay, so that's for the students. So ISS just crossed the touched Australia, and it will fly over the Pacific Ocean and reach the ground station where we will perform the contact. We have about half an hour to go, 40 minutes to be precise, before the signal can be acquired. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome for today. Today we will hopefully realize a contact between students in Haacht, Belgium, from the Don Bosco School, and Chris Cassidy on board of the ISS. The students will contact and be able to ask questions, and Chris will answer them, hopefully. So back to the introduction. I will present a small introduction so that everybody understands what is involved with such a contact. So here you have a picture of the ISS. There are other pictures, and it's not the latest status, but it is a very good view of it. It all started a couple of years ago on October 4th, 1957, when the Russian launched Sputnik. That was the first artificial satellite put into orbit, and radio amateurs across the world received the signals of the satellite, of the first ever man-made satellite. This satellite lasted a couple of weeks. It was only battery powered, so it didn't have a lot of power on board. Radio amateurs are active over 100 years, and they're interested in experimenting and studying radio waves. This, of course, includes space-based communications. So in 1961, they built and launched their first satellite. They called it Oscar, orbiting satellite carrying amateur radio. Oscar looks like a box like this on the picture, and it was launched on the December 12th, 1961, and it was put on an orbit of about 245 kilometers. It weighed 4.5 kilos, and it lasted 3 weeks because the batteries didn't last longer. The actual satellite re-entered a couple of years later in the atmosphere and burnt in the upper layers. 570 radio amateurs in the world in 28 different countries could receive the signal. So it was quite active for a first satellite. You will ask, but who are the radio amateurs? Radio amateurs like me, you will find them all around the globe and also in all social groups. They have one thing in common, it's their passion for radio. Below you can see a small picture of Juan Carlos, King of Spain. He is also an active radio amateur. Two well-known radio amateurs here have been in space. The two Belgian astronauts, Dirk Frimoet, has been in space in 1902 on board of the space shuttle. And Frank de Winne was also in space twice, in 2002 and in 2009, when he was there for 6 months and also achieved to be the commander of the ISS for 3 months. To become licensed radio amateur, you have to pass an exam at the BIPT, the Belgian Institute for Post and Telecommunications. It's an exam that proves that you have some basic knowledge of the technology, of the radio technique, and also that you know all the regulations about it. And you must be at least 12 years old. Radio amateurs have built since 1961 over 100 satellites. Some are in space, like Oscar 7, since over 40 years and still operational. UFTI-1 was a satellite built by the University of Liège and launched in 2016, so it's a pure Belgian satellite. Currently, they are working on UFTI-2, which is the also built in collaboration with students from the Atheneum of JET. So there are about a couple of kids, 16, 17 years old, actually building equipment which will fly into space. One common question is, why does a satellite stay in space? It should fall down, so why doesn't it do? So we can imagine an experiment. We just build a cannon on a very high mountain and shoot a satellite or ball, and you will see that the ball falls down towards Earth. If you shoot it with a stronger speed, it will fall further away. If you shoot it at about 7.9 meters per second, it will actually fall just next to the Earth and miss the Earth and continue falling, and actually orbit around the Earth. So the minimum speed you need is 7.9 kilometers per second. If you shoot it with a stronger speed, it will fall further away, so it will orbit in a larger orbit around Earth. Finally, if you shoot it with above 11.3 kilometers per second, it will actually leave the orbit of Earth and fly into deep space. So these are some principles which were discovered already by Kepler in the medieval times and which are still valid today. The ISS is a satellite positioned around 420 kilometers of altitude. The exact altitude currently is 421.7 kilometers above Earth. And it takes 92 minutes to fly once around the Earth. So it flies at about 7.9 kilometers per second, which is 28,000 kilometers an hour. Satellites have different kind of orbits. When you fly around the equator, it's an easy orbit, but you will see only part of the Earth. You will just see 2,000 kilometers above north and south of the equator, and that's all. More interesting for Earth observation is the polar orbit. In this case, the satellites fly over the south and the north pole of the Earth, and as the Earth rotates below, you will have a view of the whole Earth in several orbits, but you can have all the observe for weather or other resources. You have a good view of the Earth. ISS flies in an orbit which is inclined with 51 degrees of inclination, so that it will not go beyond 51 degrees north or 51 degrees south. So it will see pretty much of the Earth. It will see Northern Europe, except the tip of Scandinavia. It will see also Africa, most parts of Asia, except the northern Siberia, and also it will see the United States and South America, except the northern part of Canada. So it will cover almost all of the Earth. The reason for that is that the ISS is below the Van Allen belt. The Van Allen belt is a part of the higher atmosphere where all the ionic particles from the solar wind are trapped and form a shield, a radiation shield for the Earth. So without it, the radiation on the Earth would be much stronger. This Van Allen belt has a gap above the poles, and so if the ISS would fly into it, it would be exposed to very severe radiation coming from the sun and from ionic particles of solar winds. When the ISS is above us, it can see a circle of visibility. This is the horizon of the ISS. It's a circle which has about 2,700 kilometers of radius. So that's what you can see from the ISS. When the ground station tries to contact the ISS, it has to be in view of the satellite of the ISS. So it can only contact it if ISS sees the ground station and if the ground stations can see the ISS. The time it takes for the ISS to pass one ground station is at maximum 10 minutes. Remember, it flies with 28,000 kilometers an hour, so it is very fast, and so a contact can only last 10 minutes. That would be the case if the ISS would fly over Belgium, where this little black cross is. It takes 10 minutes to fly over. Don Bosco had already planned a contact, direct contact, which was scheduled last in December. It couldn't go on, but everything was ready for it. So they built antennas, antenna rotator, and the control box for it at the school. And this equipment is still waiting for another contact potentially. So everything was built by the students and in a very robust and industrial manner, duplicate to have redundancy. So if one fails, the other can take over. So that is the control software to track the antennas when the ISS is flying over the ground station. What we will do is we will make a telebridge contact. Currently, the satellite is not above our heads, and all the students are confined at home. The school is closed. So what we'll do is we have found a ground station in New Hampshire in the USA that will do the contact for us, and we are all connected to this ground station via internet. The ISS is the International Space Station is a very big satellite. It was launched starting 1998, and it was actually launched module by module and assembled in space. So it grows continuously. So the current picture is not the latest one, but it's almost the latest one. The size of the ISS is like a football field. It's 72 meters wide, 108 meters long, and 20 meters thick. Of course, most of it are the solar panels, but it's a very big satellite. It weighs about 450 tons, 450,000 kilograms. We achieved to put 2 radiometer stations on board, one in the Russian module and one in the Galileo module from ESA. The first radiometer contact was done in 2000, and since we did more than 1,300 school contacts. We have also provision to send SSTV signals, so that are pictures, and packet radio, that is data. The ISS is an assembly of different modules from different countries. Russia has the Zvezda and Zarya modules. USA provided Unity, Tranquility, and Destiny. ESA has provided the Columbus module. Kibo comes from Japan. And there's also the ARM from Canada, which is used to manipulate experiments and loads outside of the ISS. The station we will use is in the Russian service module. So it's one of the stations. And the actual antennas are just clipped outside of the module on some handrails. So it can be very easily replaced or moved. Of course, inside the ISS, it sometimes looks very crowded because they don't have much space. They have a lot of experiments, a lot of equipment, and so it looks very crowded. Here you will see a picture of Thomas Pesquet, which was there about 1 year ago. ARIS, Amateur Radio on International Space Station, is a group that operates also 12 ground stations around the world. There are a few in Europe, in Belgium and Italy. There are some in the United States, like the one which we use today. There are 2 in Argentina, 3 in Australia, and 1 in South Africa. So these stations can be used to establish school contacts and allow schools to talk to astronauts. Today, we will use the ground station in New Hampshire, United States. It's located a bit north of New York, and it's operated by Fred AB-10C. A quick look in the station, you will see on the screen the position of the ISS and the controlling of the antenna position. That is done by the PC. Next to it, you will find the transmitter, which allows to actually send the radio signal and receive the signal from the ISS. And on the right side, you will find the controller for the antenna's position and also other device for speech processing. The antenna from AB-10C are outside, and they are steerable so that you can turn them and tilt them to track the satellite. The contact will be established when the ISS comes over the area which can be seen by the ground station. And so this is due to be about 10:52 UTC, which is 12:52 local Belgium time. And the contact will last 9 minutes and 42 seconds. The students are at their home in Belgium, and they will contact the ground station AB-10C through internet. And the ground station will relay the audio over the radio waves towards ISS. And the same, the downlink from ISS will be received by the ground station and put on the internet so the students can hear it. The astronauts will be talking today is Chris Cassidy. Chris Cassidy is a US astronaut. It's the third time he has been in space on board of ISS, and he's currently the commander. He's born in 1917. He's married and has 5 children. The other astronauts on board, there are 2 American astronauts which are part of the SpaceX mission, and there are 2 Russian cosmonauts which are also on board. So currently they have a crew of 5 people. One of the concerns of ISS is space debris. If you look in the space, you will find that there are a huge amount of numbers of objects flying around. There are more than 5,400 objects which are larger than 1 meter. 34,000 objects and more are between 10 centimeters and 1 meter. There are 900,000 objects which are between 1 and 10 centimeters, and more than 1.3 million objects which are just 1 to 10 millimeters or wide, and much more which are even smaller. The danger of those objects is that actually they fly with such a high speed that if they hit ISS or another part, they can make holes or even destroy equipment. All these objects, 6% of them are actually active satellites. 22% of them are dead satellites, so satellites which have finished their mission or which are have no longer power, which are defects, but so they are dead. 70% of those objects are actually parts of launchers. So when you launch a rocket to put into orbit a satellite. Of course, the rocket is also flying in orbit, so it's flying above us. 42% are fragments of satellites. Sometimes satellites break, explode, collide, or whatever, and that puts fragments of satellites, which are smaller, of course, but still dangerous. And 13% of the objects are called operational waste. Sometimes when you launch a satellite, you have protection in front of the camera or so, and once the satellite goes live, you remove this, and of course it's still in space, so it's part of this operational waste. Looking at the object in space, if you would take a picture, it would look like a very big cloud. And so you see it's very crowded. There's a lot of things, a lot of junk flying around. 1 week ago, last Friday, Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, detected a potential threat. So a debris from a Proton launch that they launched in 1987 menaced to collide with the ISS, and it would have approached the ISS less than 500 meters. So what the Roscosmos decided is to start the engine of the ISS. Actually, the ISS don't have major thrusters, but they have permanently at least one cargo ship docked, and the cargo ship just serves as a thruster for the ISS. So they started the engine, they did 100-second burn, and they achieved to move the ISS into a higher altitude of 900 meters, and to actually add to the speed 0.5 meters per second. So it is not a big change of speed, but don't forget it's a 450-ton object you have to move, and you don't have to break it. So you have to be very gentle when you start engines. So that is a simulated orbit. The white line is the orbit of the ISS, and the red line is the orbit of the Proton, of the Proton rocket, and it would have collided or at least approached by less than 500 meters, which is quite scary still. So because it can do a lot of damage. So that was a small introduction by me. Let's go and see where the ISS is currently. So 1 second, please. So that is the current position now of the ISS. The ISS is flying just over the Northern Pacific Ocean, and it will continue fly over North America up to the ground station, which is located in New Hampshire. So I will just accelerate the movement, and you will see at a certain stage, the ISS will see the ground station. The ground station will be able to see ISS, and we can then establish a contact. The contact will last up to loss of signal, so when ISS is below horizon. You can see also Don Bosco, which is completely out of the path currently of ISS. If you would want to make a direct contact, we would have to wait a lot of time to actually to be able to see it. It would be somewhere this evening. It would be something like 23 o'clock UTC, so 1 o'clock in the morning. So that would be not very practical for all of us. So ISS is still, it will appear in 11 minutes above the ground station. What we can do is I can show you that the actual circle is a true circle. It's not a sort of egg. And so the ISS will fly over and reach New Hampshire and fly across it, and we can make the contact. So that is the ISS. So we still have a couple of minutes left. What can I explain more? Just go back. Stop here on the screen. Okay, so that is a short introduction to the ISS and to the contact we are doing. What will also happen is, so what we establish, we have a video conference between the students and the ground station. So you can see currently all the cameras of the students. So that is everybody who's participating can be shown. You will have the picture of it. So that is one thing. Yeah, took some time to refresh at my side. Sorry for that. So the contact we will do is with a station in New Hampshire. It is a radio amateur station. So it's not a station from NASA, also using professional equipment. It has been built by radio amateurs. And one reason why we can have a radio amateur station on board is that if everybody fails, if everything fails from the NASA transmission, they can always come back and call upon the radio amateur network to actually make emergency communications in case of. And it actually happened that NASA lost contact with the ISS, and they asked us to go be standby to actually listen for ISS in case of. So that is the small introduction. We have now 8 minutes left for the before the contact. So let's start in 1 minute. We start with the official part of the contact. So okay, so what we did this morning, before we did some sound checks, so everybody is loud and clear, and it will be then the contact is now planned in 7 minutes. So let's start with it. This is now the official part. So hello everyone. This is Stefan Dombrovsky, ON6TI your amateur radio moderator for today. Through the help of amateur radio volunteers and the crew on the ISS, we hope soon to establish ham radio contact with the International Space Station, as it flies more than 400 kilometers above Earth. This is all accomplished with ARIS, amateur radio on the International Space Station. The ISS currently is flying over the Pacific Ocean at a speed of 28,000 kilometers an hour. This contact will be performed using amateur radio telemetry network, a worldwide network of amateur radio ground stations that enables students to contact the ISS. ARIS is a consortium of ham radio volunteers from 9 nations that develop and operate the amateur radio station on board the ISS. Some members of ARIS are the Royal Union of Belgian Amateurs, the Worldwide AMSAT Radio Amateur Corporations, CSA, that's the Canadian Space Agency, ESA, JAXA, which is the Japanese Space Agency, NASA, and Roscosmos. The amateur radio ground station that will establish contact with the ISS is AB10C, located in Hollands, New Hampshire, and operated by Fred. Thank you for helping us out, Fred. We have about 5 minutes until contact time. Our contact for today is with Chris Cassidy, KF5KDR. The ham radio contact coordinator for today is ON6TI. Today we have students from Don Bosco School in Haacht, Belgium. We have asked the principal, Mr. Lehnknecht, to briefly tell us about the school and the students taking part today. Mr. Lehnknecht.
Yes, hello, I'm Geert Lehnknecht, principal of the school. Don Bosco Haacht is a secondary school with about 2,100 pupils. The location is 15 miles of Brussels. Our school, founded in 1961, offers a wide spectrum of education areas working to academic, technical, and vocational qualifications. Besides, there are offered many opportunities to be involved in international activities such as sport competitions, STEM projects, and an exchange project with an Indian sister school in Pondicherry. Over.
Okay, today is a very special contact. Indeed, all students are at home using an audio and video conference over internet to reach the ground station. This is a world first. The ISS currently has already started to fly over Northern America. So that is the current position, and it will continue flying over towards the ground station. So, AB10C, before the contact begins, please tell us about your ham radio station, where you are and how you will handle the conversation.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our contact today. And a special thanks to all the students in the school who made all of this possible with the ISS for everybody. My name is Fred. My amateur radio call sign is AB10C. I'm located in Hollis, New Hampshire, about 50 clicks north of Boston, Massachusetts. The station here is a fully computer-controlled automated station that will track the ISS and follow it as we make our contact with Chris this morning. Amateur radio is a great hobby to learn about engineering, science, math, and technology in general, And we hope that everyone watching will and participating will at some point in their life take advantage of amateur radio. Students, good luck with your contact, and remember to say over when you're done asking your question, to speak slowly and clearly so that the Chris on board the ISS can hear you and answer your questions. Good luck with your contact.
Thank you, Fred. Remember that what we are doing on the ISS is an experiment. So we can never tell the result, positive or negative, until the experiment is over. And students, don't forget to say over. So in slightly more than 1 minute, the International Space Station should come over. So Fred, it's all yours. Good luck.
All right, thanks everybody. We have 50 seconds till the ISS comes over the horizon today. I'm going to go ahead and open the radio for a second so you can hear the downlink static. And once we acquire Chris, I'll remove the static so that we can listen comfortably to the contact. Okay, that's what I'm hearing here in New Hampshire. We have 25 seconds till the contact. The antennas are beginning to track in on the ISS. "15 seconds. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. Any copy on Alpha Bravo 1 Oscar Charlie?
Alpha Bravo 1 Oscar Charlie, this is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, over.
November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, AB10C. Hello, Chris. All the students are excited to hear your voice. Thank you so much for taking your precious time to make contact with us. Are you ready for the students' questions? Over.
Good morning, great to be with you. Yes, ready for the questions, over.
Okay, students, good luck. It's all yours. Students, go ahead and start with your questions.
So question for Siebe. How can you tell time? Does day and night exist in the space station? Over.
Great question. We set Greenwich Mean Time on our watches. That's the time in London. And that's how we live our daily lives. Even though we pass around the world 16 times a day, we look out the window, we see day. We look out the window, we see night. But what really drives our schedule is just a normal work day with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's how we live our day and night. Over.
Hello, I'm Dennis. What are the difficulties in space in putting clothes on? Over.
Check over. Students, unfortunately, I'm not hearing your questions. Over. Can you hear me?
And there's ask your
I'm
question
unable
again.
to hear the question, so I'll pass in the blinds. I have the list of the questions. The next one from Dennis. What are the difficulties in putting clothes on in space? It's actually not difficult at all. You just float right into your pants. You put your shirt on the same way. The most challenging item to put on are your socks. Over.
Quentin?
Chris, do you have us now?
I have you live clear now. Go ahead, over.
Okay, next student, ask your question.
Nice to meet you. I'm Quentin. Why would you go outside of the ISS, and how many of you can leave at the same time? Over.
We go outside of the ISS, we call that an EVA, or a spacewalk, to repair broken equipment, or install new equipment, or to install an experiment. And two of us can leave at a time, and although during the space shuttle era, they did do a 3-person EVA at one point, but normally it's always 2. You have a buddy, and it's an all-day event. In fact, Bob Lincoln and I have a spacewalk next week. Over.
Hi, I'm Dries. What anthropogenic influences or man-made structures on Earth can you observe from space? Over.
With your naked eye, it's difficult to see any man-made structures with a nice small photo lens on our camera. We can make out cities, and with really magnified, we can zoom in on man-made structures that are large, like sports arenas and that sort of thing. It is possible to see other large things like a dam, a huge dam, because you can find a lake. But man-made structures are very difficult to see from space. Over.
Hello, I'm Renske. Are you allowed to go back to Earth immediately in case of a family-related emergency? Over.
Oh, that's a great question. Technically, it's possible to immediately return to Earth, but it would be a big deal. So if it's a family emergency, we probably wouldn't go. The only reason we would leave unexpectedly here, I think, is if a medical problem with a crew member on board the space station and they needed urgent care that could only be had on Earth. Over.
Hi, I'm Jana. Is it possible to drink sparkling water on board of the ISS? Over.
It is possible to drink sparkling water on board the ISS, although we don't have it. The bubbles don't stay very long. So all of the water we have is still water, and all of the beverages we have, you add the water to make the beverage. So we don't have anything with bubbles or sparkling on board the space station. Over.
Hello, Chris. I'm Hannah. What kind of experiments do you do in space, and do they sometimes include animals? Over.
We do lots of experiments, and many of them are biological experiments, as you're suggesting, with animals. And we have mice up here occasionally. We've had frogs and insects and fish, even spiders. And that's all we've had on the space station that I can think of. But we are doing experiments on, in fact, one I'm working on right now is with foam to determine manufacturing techniques that it could be better in space for foam. Over.
Hi, I'm Paul. Why would the ISS change its course, and how fast does it do that? Over.
We change our course on the ISS occasionally to avoid orbital debris. In fact, we did this maneuver just last week to avoid a possible collision with some space debris. And it's not so much of changing our course. Our course is is definitely fixed on a bearing of 51.6 degrees. But the altitude we can adjust, and we do that with our engine, and we can fire that within a 2-hour notice. Over.
Hello, I'm Antoine. Have you ever had any problems with oxygen, pressure, or fire on board, and how can you solve such problems? Over.
I'm not hearing the questions, but I know that Anton has one. Have you ever had any problems with oxygen, pressure, or fire on board, and how do you solve such problems? We train extensively for these types of situations. Fortunately, since I've been on board my 2 missions, we have not yet had a problem with oxygen or pressure or fire, although about a year and a half ago, they did have a slow leak where for an unknown reason, there was a small amount of air leaving the International Space Station. They found it and plugged the hole, and everything was okay. Over.
Hi, Chris. I'm Karel. What do you do when you have free time? Over.
know, with our free time, we like to do things that you can only do up here. And mostly that involves looking out the window and taking pictures of Earth. Although we do have movies and books, electronic books, a few real physical books, mostly electronic. There's musical instruments, and of course we sit and talk and laugh with each other. That's another thing we do in our free time. Over.
Hi. Hi, I am Lander. How did it feel when you took off? Over.
When you take off, you have lots of emotions: excitement, joy, happiness, pride. A little bit of fear is a good thing, because that means you respect the situation that you're in and what's happening underneath you. But mostly, it's just you're very excited to get to the point where all this training is finally coming to a point where you can use it, and it's time for the mission to start. Over.
This is a question for Siba. How do the quality and duration of your sleep in the ISS differ from what you are used to on Earth? Over.
From what you're used to on Earth. The same amount of time, but sometimes I feel like, particularly on Fridays like today, I feel like we I don't know if that's because we're a little less sounding, if you're listening.
So let's give a big round of applause to Chris, if he can still hear us. Chris, many thank you. Fred?
Yeah. So you all did a wonderful job, and I want to thank you all for making our contact possible this morning. This is AB10C. I'm clear the frequency.
Okay, thank you, Fred. So, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have shared a moment of history. Amateur radio station AB10C in Hollis, New Hampshire, operated by Fred, contacted Chris Cassidy, KF5KDR, on board of the International Space Station, talking with students in Belgium. Luc, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for the very nice collaboration, and especially Fred. Thanks a lot. It went very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of a special experience with all of you today.
Okay, now for the international volunteer team of ARIS, including the Royal Union of Belgian Amateurs, Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation around the world, CSA, ESA, JAXA, and NASA, and Roscosmos. This is Stefan Dombrovsky, amateur operator ON6TI, sending my greetings to all of you. In amateur radio terms, 73. Best wishes.
73, everybody.
So thank you for everybody. So that was a very good contact. We had some small issues, but that can happen. Luc, is the press coming?
Well, I don't think so. I don't see anybody appearing, so I don't think. I had a phone call during the call. I think they are recording it, and I don't think they will pop up in the conference call here, Stefan.
Okay, so thank you to everybody. Special thanks to Fred, AB10C, for his ground station. Thank you for Bertus to be my backup. Thank you for Nick for the streaming to the internet, and for Jasper replacing Siebe. because of some technical issues with his microphone. Thank you to all of you students, because you actually achieved something which is probably unique in your lifetime. So I hope you will remember it, and that it stimulates your life in the future. So many thanks. Many thanks also to all the other people around, Jan in his background, Gaston, and also to the other teachers, Caroline, Jasper, Nick, and Luc, for helping to organize all this.
Thank you, Stefan. And a special thanks to meneer Leenknecht as well for making this possible on this school.
Yes, from my side, congratulations, Stefan, for the very well preparations, and especially Jasper and Fred, who did an extensive job to get this done. And all the students, very nice to see you, and I'm glad to be part of this experiment. Over to you, Stefan.
Yes, and from Gaston also, all my congratulations on this feat, and thanks to Fred, and also to the students, of course, and principally to Stefan for his guidance and leadership in this event. Thank you so much, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Yes, Stefan, again, a big thanks. And it was very well organized. Absolutely.
Okay. Nick, I think you can stop the streaming if you haven't done that so far.
Bedankt om te kijken allemaal. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody. Have a great
Yeah.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Same to you.